Your grandmother's washing machine ran for 19 years. Remember that? Well, now yours will be lucky to get 11. That's not nostalgia, that's peer reviewed numbers. And the 5-year failure isn't a deficit because parts and service earn double what the machine itself earns. Here's the full story of what's going on and how to spot the ones still built to last.
There is a washing machine from 1978 still running in somebody's basement right now. And there is one in your laundry room bought 4 years ago that needs a $340 control board. A brand new washer costs $499. So you throw away a machine that is mechanically fine because the cheapest component in it failed and the part costs most of what a replacement does. Nobody ever sat you down and explained when that math flipped or who it works out well for. I want to start with a number the industry published about itself because it is the most useful thing anyone has produced on this in years. Last September, a research firm released its first study of appliance reliability. 12,755 households, every one of them reporting on a machine bought within the previous 3 years. And it found this. Appliances with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built into them averaged 87 faults for every 100 units. The same categories without any connectivity averaged 63. Same study, same sample, same period. 38% more things going wrong on the machines with a chip talking to your phone. Let me be precise about what that measures because it gets mangled constantly. That is faults per 100 machines, not the share of machines that broke. One washer with 3 problems contributes 3 of them. So it is not 63% of anything. What it is, and this matters more, is a controlled comparison inside a single data set. Same buyers, same brands, same time frame, and the only difference is the connectivity. That is very hard to argue with. The man who runs the study put it in his own press release that the data explains a familiar phrase. They don't make them like they used to. And a separate study from the same firm 2 months earlier found customer satisfaction with durability specifically had fallen 11 points in a single year. Different sample, same direction. Now here is where I am going to correct something you have probably heard, including from people on my side of this argument. Your appliances are not dying in 5 years. The industry figures put refrigerators at around 13 years to replacement, washers around 10. That is worse than what your grandparents had, and it is not 5 years, and anybody selling you 5 years is selling you something. And be careful with the comparison numbers too, because the 19-year figure that gets quoted is a different measurement entirely. It counts machines that are still running today. You cannot line that up against how long a new one lasts and call it a fair fight. So the machines did get a bit worse. That is not the story. The story is what happens the day one breaks. Because that math has changed completely. And this part is documented in a filing with a federal regulator. The repair trade has a rule of thumb. If the repair costs more than half of what a replacement costs, replace it. That rule barely mattered in 1985, when a washer was a motor, a belt, and a mechanical timer. Today, a single control board can cross half the price of a mid-range machine by itself, before anybody's labor. Then there is the part almost nobody knows. In November of 2023, 2 repair organizations filed a petition with the federal trade regulator. Inside it are these findings. Roughly 9 out of 10 independent repair technicians report difficulty obtaining service manuals. Only a handful of the 50 manufacturers surveyed publish them at all. And to get the official service documentation for a General Electric appliance, the listed price is $919. Not the part, the instructions, for a machine you already own. An audit of 58 small appliances found nearly 2/3 earned a failing grade for repair material availability, and about 2/3 offered no internal replacement parts whatsoever. Not expensive parts, no parts. So think about what that actually does. Your machine is repairable in principle. In practice, the person you would pay to repair it cannot get the diagram. That gap between the two is not a defect. It is a business. The two comments that made me want to make this video said it better than any of that. One viewer wrote that she bought a clothesline and she is done with dryers. She was not being funny. She had been through 3 dryers in 11 years. And a retired maintenance man wrote that he serviced these machines for 30 years and the parts started changing in the 90s. He is right, and that is exactly when it happened.
Hey everyone, if you want something that lasts, think about your mindset, your money mindset, and how it is right now and how it could be better. I put together a program called the Money Mindset Mastery that will take you from paycheck to paycheck or not getting to that $1 million mark fast enough to a totally different way of thinking about money and finances. It is a total game changer. If you want, I'll put a sale link down below. Take a look at it if you want. If not, no worries. Let's get back to the video.
Metal gears and mechanical timers gave way to electronic control boards. A gearbox is a lump of steel that lasts decades. A board is a component that fails in year 4 and costs 1/3 of a new machine. Now let me give you the fair argument against me, because there is one. In that same reliability study, General Electric came out best for service experience and posted the lowest fault rates in several categories. So this is not uniform, and it is not every brand. Some of the complexity people resent came from efficiency rules, and some came from features buyers genuinely asked for. Repair laws are starting to pass. And the biggest appliance story of this year was not a durability scandal at all. Whirlpool suspended its dividend in May for the first time in more than half a century. And the reason it gave in its own filing was a recession-level collapse in demand as consumer confidence fell apart in late February and March, tied to the war in Iran. The chief executive called it a very, very painful decision. Their finance chief said appliance demand has not been this low since the financial crisis. Their North American appliance profit fell 96% in one quarter, and the stock hit a 14-year low. That is a demand shock, not a quality plot, and I am not going to pretend otherwise. All of that is true. None of it makes the manual cheaper. So here is what I think is actually going on, and it is 3 separate business decisions, not one conspiracy. The first is complexity, and it is measured. Every feature is another part that can fail and another diagnostic that only the manufacturer can read. The second is extraction, and there is one clean documented case. In 2019, a private equity firm bought the parent company of Instant Pot for $615 million, loaded debt onto it, and paid a large dividend back to itself. That company filed for bankruptcy protection in June of 2023. The bankruptcy trustee is now suing, alleging the owner plundered the business. Those are allegations in a live case, not findings, and I will say that clearly. But a brand that spent a decade earning trust ended up as a financing vehicle. The third is margin pressure at a public manufacturer, and you can see it in buildings rather than intentions. Whirlpool has spent years cutting. The Amana plant in Iowa once ran about 3,000 union workers. This June, the second shift ended, and another 288 jobs went. That workforce is down toward roughly 1,300. Across Iowa, Tennessee, and Mexico, the company has cut more than 1,700 positions in 2 years. And here is the honest frame, which is also the reason this video is different from everything else on this topic. Bosch, LG, and Samsung are not private equity stories. Whirlpool is not a private equity story. There is no single villain here, and anybody who tells you there is has not read a filing. Repair laws are now lied in more than one state, requiring manufacturers to supply parts and documentation. There is no federal law covering home appliances. Dozens of bills went in across a dozen states in January alone. But watch the loop, because it is obvious once you see it. A law that requires a company to sell you the part does not require the company to price it sensibly. Price the board near the cost of a new machine, and you have complied with every word of the statute and changed nothing at all. So here is what you actually do, and it is one question in a showroom. Before you buy anything, ask whether the service manual is publicly available for that model. Free, online, no account. That single question sorts the entire market, and almost nobody asks it. Find out who manufactures it, not whose name is on the front, because the badge and the factory are frequently different companies now. Ask whether you can still get a control board for it in 8 years and watch the salesperson's face. If the connected version costs more than the plain one, buy the plain one. You are paying extra for the version that the industry's own research says breaks more. Get the service call fee and the diagnostic policy in writing before anybody drives out. Because that money is spent before a part is even named. And learn the 50% rule now while you are calm, instead of on a Tuesday standing in a flooded kitchen. That washer from 1978 is still running because it was built out of parts a person could see, understand, and replace. The one in your laundry room probably isn't broken either. It is just holding one component you are not allowed to know anything about. So tell me, what appliance did you finally give up on, and which brand was it? The American appliance doesn't die. It gets priced out of being repaired, one control board at a time. This concludes the investigation. Economic Ninja is out.